Why is domestic tourism not fully explored? Why does the tourism industry seem to discriminate against women still? Do women view tourism as a career option? And does the tourism industry provide sustainable jobs? What time is it? It's question time. Welcome to the show. My name is Mpho Tseidu. With all its scenic beauty, magnificent outdoors, sunny climate, and all the ingredients for ideal travel destinations, has South Africa managed to transform the tourism industry? Are the people of slums and shack dwellings just attracting tourists to experience first-hand poverty without benefiting such communities? My guest today, the Deputy Minister of Tourism, Togo Xasa. DM, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Mpho.
Has the industry transformed?
Well, Mpho, that is a question that we're grappling with, looking into the transformation of the industry. Basically, the industry is predominantly white.
Yes.
And you have a lot of then the other racial groups mostly participating as employees within the industry. So it remains that question, and you look into most of the actual establishments being family businesses.
Yes.
And even when you talk transformation, then you can't really penetrate, but we can only talk as far as ensuring that within the value chain as it moves, there is participation by everybody. So it leaves us with fewer opportunities that get opened for transformation.
Yes.
And if you're looking into what options are there within the industry, you're looking into various subsectors where you then can look into where can we transform. Mostly one opportunity that is there is to encourage new entrepreneurs within the industry. That would help you develop them to be owners of such entrepreneurs as they are developing. There is also a background that I can give around that to say, when it comes to tourism, you're looking at an industry that has been predominantly leisure, looking into the destination South Africa.
Yeah.
So with those establishments that you would have been having, they were focusing on that. People did not really think of what else can we do to establish more. So now we had our national tourism sector strategy that was looking into how can we grow this tourism. What are the kinds of areas that we can look into growing the tourism? So we came up with what we call niche markets.
Okay.
So that we can grow it, can open these opportunities for new entrants into the industry, at the same time challenge the industry to also see women growing up. I'm an advocate for women, as you would know. So because within the existing industry, you'll have a lot of women, but they would not really move upwards to
exactly. That's the point.
To very senior positions.
I wanted to raise that point because women are still discriminated against in this
So
sector.
you'd find them being the majority, mostly at entry levels, and they would go out. You'd find them very scanty when it comes to management levels, and upwards to your CEOs, you have very few CEOs.
So how are you supporting them then?
So now we have programs, as I was saying. After we developed the national tourism sector strategy, we also looked into what would be the niche markets within which to grow, growing new like your culture and heritage, growing in where you look into rural tourism development, where you're looking into how we can make them to be part of the operations of such establishments, small, medium, and macro enterprises, so that they can have some management development skills in order for them to really grow and be on their own.
But one of the points that I have noted is that women are still earning lesser than their male counterparts, even if they're doing, or even when they're doing the same jobs.
That's not true. It's also a fact within the industry. We have a study that was conducted. It revealed exactly that. It's a global study. It's a report that was made to say women are earning 10% or 15% lower than their counterparts within the industry. So you can see it's quite a discriminating sector. And they still work longer hours. There's no consideration for them when they are industry. They are within the sector. So we're looking, therefore, into legislation that looks into where the private sector and public sector look into how we can protect women within the industry. But also we are looking into mechanisms that would, really help and make sure that we have equal pay for equal jobs, because at this point in time we don't really have anywhere to hide if we don't have equality within the industry.
Your figures they're looking quite exciting. So you're saying here that the total contribution of travel and tourism to the country's GDP was 323 billion rands. That's 9.5% of the GDP in 2013, and is forecast to have risen by 3.6 in 2014. Who's benefiting here?
Those figures are for the sub-Saharan Africa. Because we're trying to illustrate globally how tourism is performing, and then sub-Saharan in South Africa. If you're looking into the figures in South Africa, we are close to 100 billion per annum. So that in itself means that money gets into the GDP of the country, so that the country can work on its priorities, distribute it according to its priorities. But one other factor around that is that direct jobs that it has created. Same in the year 2011, we have about 617,000 direct jobs that were created within the industry. So it contributes into job creation, and people have a lower entry level into this sector, so it's easier to get into it. And then the challenge then becomes, how then do we make them to remain there? How do we skill them to really get into the other areas, senior areas, in order to...
What kind of jobs are we talking about here? We're talking about the Magogos at the 3 rondavels in Mpumalanga who are selling handmade crafts, or what?
It's a range of them. And it's in fact what we also want to take out into the country and to the young people to entice them to come. We have several careers within the industry. We're talking here about housekeeping. We're talking about chefs here. We have a new artisanry that we have established of food safety assurance. We have tour guides here. We have, everything that you can think of. We have sommeliers, we have, several front office careers within the industry that opens opportunities for anybody who can come into the industry.
Okay, let's talk about domestic tourism after the break. This is question time. Please don't go away.
Console Light G, longer than -2.5.
The new resealable Platinum Edition. Unlock Cold Blast Refreshment.
Food for thought, in the words of Ray Davis. Remember, a challenge only becomes an obstacle when you bow to it.
Of dedication and perseverance, Abayani Maitakore made history as one of South Africa's best performing matriculants of 2014, attaining 7 distinctions.
I believe that nothing should stand in your way if you see yourself in the future doing something great. So I just carried on and I never gave up. Though the circumstances I faced were challenging, I love challenges. So I was like, yeah, man, bring it on. I can do it.
Join me, Refiwe Muiba, on Bophelong, your show about those who take on and conquer life's challenges, every Saturday at 17:30.
Togo Trasa is the Deputy Minister of Tourism, and she is my guest today on Question Time. DM, welcome back. Let's talk about domestic tourism. Are South Africans touring their own shores?
Not to our satisfaction, because there's much more to see in South Africa. There's much more South Africa offers for tourists. And we also, when we were looking at why are they not touring, some of it is that they don't know what is in their own backyards. Each and every one of our provinces have got unique products that they are offering. But what we also discovered was that at times it is not as affordable for South Africans, because when it all started, tourism started by focusing on international tourists. So we'd find that most of the establishments are really priced at international tourist prices. So therefore we had to look into how then do we develop our domestic tourism to make South Africans really tour. So it had to go with awareness. We had to create a lot of awareness. That is why we had the Short Left campaign, because it helped us to package trips to be affordable for South Africans, but also to help South Africa showcase what it is made up of. Each province has got its own unique features. So we even take September month, the whole month, to ensure that it's just tourism, it's just making sure each province has got a maximum coverage in terms of showcasing what it is made up of. It has yielded results, I must say, because if I may just cite this last financial year, 2013, our domestic tourism trips moved to about 113 million domestic trips that were taken.
Okay.
It's 25 million trips that were taken, with people sleeping bed nights that were used being 113 million.
Yes.
So people are spending about 4 to 4.5 or 5 nights in establishments. So you could see that it is picking up, because it for instance, grew by 12% last year. Okay. So that in itself indicates that that program of ensuring that we focus on domestic tourism works. And we have this year targeted and set aside 100 million to promote domestic tourism for South Africans to travel.
How then do you make sure that you infiltrate, and as far as local government is concerned, to ensure that this domestic tourism is taken seriously? Because it is tragic to have a high school learner in Diepkloof or Orlando East not knowing where the Hector Peterson Memorial is.
So true. 2 things I may cite. We have what is called the National Tourism Careers Expo, where we create much more awareness. We're targeting schools, first and foremost, from the level where they do tourism as a subject, so that we also expose them to careers within the tourism industry. And that platform has seen over the years, a lot of awareness, also assisting educators in the tourism space to really get the content of what they have to teach learners in their schools, getting exposure as well to get to establishments. They would have weekends where they take volunteer weekends to get the training and get to understand what a hotel looks like and and also travel, because you may find an educator has never been to a hotel, has never traveled outside that school where the educator educates. So that platform also involves our further education and training colleges that are called TVET colleges now, because we also have entered into that space to influence the actual curriculum of what goes into what is taught at the TVET colleges, and also the universities, because over the years we had a lot of unemployed tourism graduates coming from all those levels, because they would just go to some of the bush colleges, they would go to those colleges, TVET colleges, but still come out with certificates that could not help them get employment, and the industry therefore had to participate in the Tourism Careers Expo. So it's a platform that begins to create that awareness at that level. So a lot of schools participate because it channels them to the real tourism industry to understand more. But also we are using another platform to create this awareness around tourism, where we have our own participation as the industry and local government, plus the department. Just now we have a local government conference that was started 2 years back, so it's held every 2 years. It's championed by the National Department of Tourism. It is going now to be on the 30th and 31st of this month, where we sit with municipalities, with everybody who is in the tourism space, traditional leaders, because some of the attractions are in the deep rural areas under traditional leadership, to look into what is it. What is this tourism? How can it benefit their communities? Who else can participate? But also making sure that local government, where there are attractions, are able to bring in the much needed services. There's access to such, and we are able to assist in signages, we are able to assist in marketing such establishments. So that conference is in its second year, and last year, the 2 years back, we feel that it has gone one step and we're taking further steps moving forward.
Interestingly, you say that South Africa plans to grow tourism by allowing travelers to move more freely and efficiently. Measures would include e-visas, regional visa schemes, and visa waiver programs between key source markets. How far are you with this program?
We are moving.
Not much progress, though.
Well, let me relate the progress. At SADC level, we are part of pilot countries within SADC that are piloting the e-visa, because we're looking into how such countries, South Africa was picked to be one of those countries, how such countries can make it easy to travel amongst the countries. But already South Africa had started with its neighboring countries on what is called a trans-frontier conservation pact. So already, even animals, they crisscross.
Yeah, well, animals don't need passports.
They crisscross the trans-frontier pacts. So that in itself has helped a lot in that. Reality has been that our facilities in South Africa have been very much better off than facilities across the rivers or borders in those trans-frontier. So that exchange, that working together has helped even our neighbors to improve and also to share and learn best practices amongst the countries. So it started on a small scale. So now we are in the process of the e-visa as SADC, some SADC countries. So that process is ongoing. Number two, when you look into the process of further looking into making visas easier, to make our visitors to come easy, I think there's been this major outcry around the visa and immigration regulations that were announced. But just safely to say, without really responding to it, but to say, one, that relations between countries differ. So there is country-specific engagement and making easier for each country to work around. So working, there's a special dispensation now for the BRICS countries, because as you know, it's the upcoming markets within the range of South Africa.
I want us to take a break and we'll talk about Kenya
Okay.
when we come back. This question time.
We live in a digital era, and the number of Africans with mobile phones is rapidly increasing.
Twitter use is predominantly being done on smartphones. This is a very African phenomenon.
Here, there are constantly new innovative ways to make the internet more affordable. With that, we're seeing protests against governments proposing methods to limit access. On Network, we give you information about all of this. We also have new computers, games, and robots.
Join Siphumelele Zondi on Network every Sunday at 19:30 CAT.
Of South Sudan and Sudan have confirmed their commitment to the cooperation agreement signed in September 2012.
As a panel, we are very pleased indeed with the position taken by both governments to implement whatever is outstanding.
About 100 bodies have been retrieved from a shipwreck off the coast of Libya. The boat carrying up to 200 migrants sank 1 kilometer from the Libyan coast.
In recent months, many boats have been wrecked as thousands of migrants, mainly from sub-Saharan Africa, have crowded into poorly made vessels in an effort to reach Italian shores.
That's PM News every day, 3 to 5:30 p.m.
Welcome back. You're still watching Question Time. My guest today is the Tourism Minister, or Deputy Minister, Me Thokozile Xhasa. Now, DM, let's talk about Kenya. What's happening there? Are you not so friendly with Kenya in terms of visas there? Is it difficult for South Africans to visit Kenya, and is it difficult for Kenyans to visit South Africa?
As I indicated earlier, it's a country-to-country relation, and I would not really get into the details of that. But we work as tourism very closely with Kenya. We have this African platform that we have, which is called Tourism Indaba, in Durban. The biggest space of all African countries that are in that Indaba is Kenya, because they have been doing a lot in terms of tourism in the exchange between the countries. And for each and every country, it looks into its whatever security issues, it looks into whatever arrangements, because there would be relations between countries in terms of the countries that particular country relates to. So there are internal arrangements that two countries get into. But in terms of tourism, Kenya has been a competitor with South Africa when it comes to the African continent. But we are not rivals. Okay. We learn from each other, so we then in that way work together.
You've given me a political answer. I'll accept it. Let's talk about the recommendations of the Africa for Africa Women's Conference that you just had.
That was a great platform that was created because whilst it was looking into how South African women can really be brought together to look into the announcement that have been made. We have Vision 2030 of South Africa, the National Development Plan. It incorporates women empowerment. It looks into sectors that would grow in terms of growing the economy of the country. And part of growing that economy includes women empowerment. So that platform was then created to begin to locate specifically what women will do in the identified sectors of economic growth. So we're happy to be part of that because it has, one, created a platform to network. it has created a platform where South African women are not just beneficiaries out of that, but women on their own coming in to say, what are we doing? How far have we gone? What are the challenges? Where do we need assistance? Because it's not like we just want to be spoon-fed, and also sharing best practices with other African countries, because we also want to be part of the African Agenda 2063. We want to be part of the United Nations agenda, making sure that women participate.
Yeah, under leadership, you're saying that ensure that communities' contribution to tourism is recognized and duly rewarded by taking into account unpaid work and monitoring tourism activities carried out in households and communities. One of the questions that I indicated or raised when we started here was that you see all these foreign tourists around Clip Town, for instance, and I'll use it as an example because I'm exposed to it. They come there, take pictures of people as if they're in the zoo, you know, and then they leave. Nothing for that particular community. I don't know, I'm not necessarily saying that those communities should charge for pictures that are being taken, but somehow that type of an environment, shouldn't it be benefiting them as well?
It calls for creativity, which is what we're trying to encourage when we look into what would be the growth sectors within tourism, because the tourists are missing out on what is the culture and the way of life of that community when they get in there. So we have a strategy already in the National Department of Culture and Heritage Tourism. We're working also with the various departments like Heritage Council under Department of Arts and Culture, where we're looking into putting in the cultural aspects around it. So it calls for creativity. I saw, for instance, in China, even when we have not climbed up the Great Wall of China, there are people there who would have a carved stone to say, you have been there.
Okay.
An advantage that
unfortunately,
people can
we've run out of time, but a very short message regarding the late Minister Collins Chabane. You've worked with him.
A very humble and dedicated and a leader. He would really lead in that humble and soft voice. We miss him. He has left a deep sore amongst all of us.
Thank you very much. That was question time for today. Have yourself a wonderful time. Goodbye.